Greetings. Greetings to you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are you guys as excited as we are? My name is Nataka Creighton. I'm a part of the UFI team, and I want to extend a warm and grateful welcome to each and every one of you. On this day, like many other days throughout our lifetime, something extraordinary has happened. It is a day we all have selected to witness its possibilities. From the ground up, many have made this possible, and many more hands will help this grow and blossom. With the knowledge and wisdom of the past, and those among us who have gifts to share, healing to offer through love and resilience, and a toolkit to put that change in motion. Let's keep it growing. Thank you and welcome, and I will see you again.
The wonderful Nataka Creighton. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathy Cotteritas. I'm from Historic Boston Incorporated, and I have the great honor of welcoming you all and the many, many people who are here tonight to the dedication of the Fowler Clark Epstein Farm. And I do so on behalf of four partners, Historic Boston, the Trust for Public Land, North Bennett Street School, and the Urban Farming Institute, our host tonight. But today we're going to celebrate the many layers of history in this community and the history that we're making today. This represents a $3.7 million investment in historic preservation, but also in the great charge of urban farming. This place today goes from being a historic farm to being a modern 21st century farm that's going to create jobs, that is going to train people on how to grow food and to also distribute food from here to places that can foster good, local, healthy environments. And to commemorate this achievement, before I let anybody think that it's all about looking at us up here, when this speaking program is done, we're going to turn the camera on you. We're all going to line up and we're going to have a community photograph with this newly commissioned place so that we can also commemorate what happened here tonight. But there is no one who is more of an advocate for farming, for preservation, for a healthy city, for these kinds of transformations. And we have a lot of folks to thank tonight, but the one that we want to bring up first, because he has given us so much, is Mayor Martin Walsh. The mayor came here 2 years ago and helped us when we acquired the property, but since then has done many things, both himself but also with the administration, to make this project possible. His Department of Neighborhood Development and the Edward Ingersoll Brown Fund gave us substantial sums of money to help restore these buildings. We were helped through the permitting processes and planning by the BPDA and by the Boston Landmarks Commission. And we also received expert guidance, and we want to commend them, from the Boston Inspectional Services Department in helping us get through also the zoning for agriculture as well as the permitting for our buildings. But for all this and much, much more, we would like to express our gratitude to Mayor Walsh and welcome him here to the farm and invite him to say a few words.
Thank you, Kathy. And I want to thank Kathy and Historic Boston. I want to thank all the elected officials that are here with us today. Representative Russell Holmes, who we both took the first picture with over here. I think Danny Cullinane might have been here that day. Representative Cullinane, Senator Collins, thank you very much for being with us today. Tim McCarthy, I appreciate you being here with us today too. Tim's going to go farming afterwards. He has his shorts on to go out here and take some. He's going to be farming.
For a tie?
I want to thank you. Don't need a tie. I want to thank Sheila Dillon from the Department of Neighborhood Development as well. And Catalina Espina from our Office of Food Access. Thank you, Catalina, as well, and all the people that are here today. I want to congratulate the Urban Farming Institute and Baraka Community Wellness on your new headquarters here. And before I get into my formal remarks, I just want to take a minute. I want to thank all the voters of Boston for passing the Community Preservation Act, because this project here was not easy to pull the money together. We have 25 individuals and foundations contributed, 25 companies chipped in, and to do a project like this, it really in the past, and still in the future, but with the CPA having that available, those funds available, community preservation, I thought, was the biggest win that day that passed. Although housing and historic preservation in open space, all three of them are part of it, I think that there wasn't really money available except for little pots here and there for community preservation. And having that money now available to the communities, we can do so much more with. So I want to just take a second to thank the voters for passing that, because it's going to come in handy. I also want to thank Captain Hussein, who's here with us. Thank you, Captain, for your great work at B2. B3, sorry. So I knew that. But right here, what we're looking at, the community helped shape the vision. There's so many people here. Everyone here with us, I want to thank you all for what you did here. I want to thank the Trust for Public Land. I want to thank the North Bennett Street School, who did. If you didn't get a chance to go in and see the woodworking inside, and one of the fun facts on the house over here was when they stripped the wall inside, they realized that the windows were bigger, and they put them back to the original form. So when you think about what was here a few hundred years ago, when you're looking at that house, with the exception of the BFD box on the side, it pretty much looks the same. And I'd say the gutters are a little different too, but other than that, you're looking at the same building. I want to thank the Mattapan Food Fitness Coalition for your great help. We're grateful to get this thing moving in 2015 with a $150,000 contribution and a strong stamp of approval. The people not giving up here is really important. What you see here is history. What you see here is public health. What you see here is open space. What you see here is job training, community opportunities. And it's all come together in an inclusive model. This is the oldest building in Mattapan, 1786. Back then, it dates back to Dorchester. I don't know what Dorchester did, but we lost Mattapan and Southie for some reason to those neighborhoods. But it's no surprise that Mattapan went on to declare itself independent, because this community is full of pride. The history of Mattapan is a history of Boston's strength, rural strength and urban strength, immigrant strength and the strength of our diversity. This is important to have this as a symbol of our vision for Boston's future. And it's why we felt so strongly about restoring it. We want to make sure for the next generation, young people understand what our neighborhoods were like, what would happen on these streets, and what happened on the farms that surrounded this farm here. A lot of young people don't understand the history of our city of Boston, that farmers really with a foundation. These lands were filled with orchards, these lands were filled with crops, these lands were filled with food that allowed people the opportunity to live in this neighborhood and eat and be supportive. And what's happening here today is one of those returning back. So as young people walk through and get the history and see the farm out front, but they actually get a chance to walk through and see that there was a lot of farms in our neighborhoods that people came and worked really hard. They didn't have electricity, they didn't have running water, they didn't have they didn't have a backhoe, a front-end loader. They didn't have what we have today. What they had was their hands, their blood, their sweat to work on these farms and really work hard. So it's about going back. I want to thank, just one more time, thank Historic Boston and Urban Farm Institute and the great neighborhood of Mattapan for allowing us the opportunity to preserve this part of our important history of the city of Boston, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and quite honestly, the beginning of our country. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mayor Walsh. It's important that you be here, and we appreciate your support. We are also really fortunate to have many public officials who've been very supportive of this project through many different layers of work that took place in the last couple of years. We'd like to thank the Secretary of State, William Galvin, and the Mass Historical Commission for generous allocations of historic tax credits, which helped make this project happen. Our city councilors, Councilor McCarthy, Council President Andrea Campbell, who were there with us every step of the way, and outside the district, Representative Byron Rushing. But inside this district, I want to acknowledge the strong support we received on many applications and support letters from Representative Holmes. You've been there with us. I know you've been there for many other things too, but we would like to include Representative Holmes in our program this evening to say a few words.
Thank you, Kathy. I remember, and Sheila remembered this better than so many. When I look over at Sheila, I remember when I first got elected, this was just a blighted site. This was a site that everyone came over in the neighborhood and dumped in. And I remember the fight where I used to just call constantly to Sheila, say, let's get this place clean. And Sheila would say, we don't own the site. And then finally, she did what she wasn't supposed to do and came on the site actually, and we cleaned it. And the Epstein family was not happy when we cleaned it. And it began a process that really was a catalyst to say, yes, we are that anxious and that upset about the fact that we can't have the site continue to be a blighted site, that we must do something. The neighbors felt that this was unacceptable, and it was. And I can tell you today, what we've come in these years, Sheila's, in those 5, 6 years, have far exceeded anything I ever imagined. So when I walked through this site, when we first came here and knocked down some of the walls and the doors, all you could see was just all the things that you couldn't imagine would just be bad things over a couple hundred years. But now to have it so that folks are going to live in each one of these buildings, we're going to now, the young adults are going to teach in this building, we're going to have training, we've come a long way. The other thing about this site is that when you think of all the other investments, and when Dan Cullinan and I talk about it all the time, all the things that Mattapan is getting, we think about just right across the street when you think about Norfolk Park. I still ask when neighbors come to me and say, well, we're not getting enough, I like to just ask, what have you gotten, or what have you not gotten that you asked for? I'm always just continuing to ask that question. This is one of the things you've demanded. And so I say today, congratulations. I want to thank David Hurst. I don't know if David can even hear my voice. So for those who don't know, there are a lot of things that used to be on this site that are no longer here. And the landscaper that made all of the first part of this possible, with getting rid of all of the stuff that was here and then creating a path. Here he is, David. This is my golf partner, so I have to give him props. So when we just walked through, and so when David wants to come and talk to me about the crushed rocks and the things he put into the crushed rocks and all the pavements that he's put out, he's put a lot of effort in his team. I want to give a special shout out to UFI, because I can tell you right now with Pat Spence and her team, I never thought again when she was approaching me with the idea that this was actually be what it would look like as well. But while I have the mic, because I know I have to give it up, I'm going to still say we're not done. For all of those who don't know, there is still another $300,000 that we need. So all the folks with CPA money and the other things, we need a greenhouse over here in the corner. We need to make sure that that when winter comes, we can still make this a site that is still productive, even in the winters, because of the fact that we want to make this a year-round site. We want folks to be able to come over, walk over, take it so that they can go from pulling some vegetables out of the ground to putting them on their plate, and that's exactly what you see with all the trucks today. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, David, the entire team. Thank you, Historic Boston. As we think about all the efforts that we've come from, I know you're amazed, just like I'm amazed. Thank you, all of the electeds as well. That as Dan said, he's the elected right across the street. I want to also recognize Candace Seeley, who's here from Congressman Capuano's office. And I know the mayor's already done it, but I can tell you this, the small things of making sure that Captain Hussein and his team, I saw Cynthia out there, have been wonderful. One of the other things that I can tell you is my staff person, Devin, literally lives across the street. And he could tell you, as he used to pull out of this spot all the time, when you think about slow streets, you now see a blinking sign there that says, hey, it's 20 miles an hour. Those are the types of things that we know this community will continue to build on. There's another site right around, I know, Kathy, you got to go. But another anchor site that you're going to see something this incredible on is just on the next block. The Neighborhood Homes Initiative has begun the project on the next block to say, how do we change that corner? Because of the fact that as we continue to build out block by block, this neighborhood gets more and more. The neighborhoods start to understand, or the community in the city begins to understand who Mattapan is. Because we all know Mattapan is a very different community than many folks believe we are. And this is exactly the thing that's representative of our community. Thanks so much for coming out today, and have a great day.
Thank you, Representative Holmes. And as UFI gets ready to do more and more advocacy for urban farming, they're going to need another friend at the State House, and that is their Senator Nick Collins, and I'd like to welcome him to the podium.
Thank you very much, and to all that joined us today, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here as the next state senator after Senator Linda Dorsina Forey. So 7.5 years I spent working with Linda and Russell. We got elected together in 2010, and to just hear his energy here and the passion he feels about his community, I'm excited to get to work with him and Dan Cullen, who I know and have worked with very well too. Want to say thank you to the mayor for supporting an initiative like this. With all the development going on in the city, and that's great, having preservation projects like this and bringing open space, maintaining open space for the community is wonderful, and I'm just excited to represent this district. So thank you all for having me.
Thank you, Senator Collins. I think we can all agree that that partnership is kind of successful when it generates places like this, and we've had a great partnership amongst the 4 organizations who put this together. Together, we got done more than we could ever do individually, and it was such a pleasure to work with everyone. But it was also really an opportunity for us to learn a lot about a really great organization, the Trust for Public Land, which does great advocacy and sees impact of that work and from their fundraising and land acquisitions and policy work. Here they really put shoulder to the wheel and raised a lot of money to make the planting beds around you and the farmland go to work for us. I want to welcome and introduce Kevin Essington, who's the Massachusetts Director for the Trust for Public Land, and ask him to say a few words.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, elected officials, for being here and for all that you do for the district and Mattapan every day. Since 1972, the Trust for Public Land has created great parks and open spaces within a 10-minute walk of over 8 million people in America. Here in Boston, we've helped create the East Boston Greenway, South End Community Gardens, and parts of the Neponset Greenway. That's why I'm so pleased to be here at Boston's newest urban farm within a 10-minute walk of 7,348 Bostonians. But numbers are just numbers. I'd rather talk about people and what land can do for people in our city. I think about Glenn Lloyd. I don't know if Glenn's here, but I think about Glenn and his entrepreneurial vision for urban farms in Boston. I think about Bobby and Nataka and the UFI crew and their passion for healthy food and healthy neighborhoods. I think of all the stories yet to be told from the thousands of people that will visit Fowler Clark Epstein Farm. And I know deep down that urban farms in Boston change lives. That's why I'm thrilled to announce that the Trust for Public Land has raised $1.2 million to build 5 new urban farms in Boston. I want to thank all the staff and volunteers at the Trust for Public Land who helped make this happen. I want to thank the hundreds of donors, large and small. I want to thank Pat Spence and the great people at UFI for your patience and support as we tackle this ambitious idea of creating urban farms in Boston together. Congratulations to Kathy and their amazing team at Historic Boston for your vision and hard work on this very challenging project. I want to give a special thank you to Mayor Walsh for your vision for Boston, especially around parks, open space, and our streets. I'm proud to work with you and your team to ensure that every single person in this city has a great park or open space like this one within a 10-minute walk of their home, regardless of their zip code. Thank you. Fowler Clark Epstein Farm is already becoming a keystone of the neighborhood. Historic Boston really did a terrific job making this place a reality. Would you join me again in thanking Kathy and Historic Boston for all they've done?
Thank you, Kevin. Funders to this project come in all shapes and sizes, and certainly their contributions came in every imaginable increment, from the $5 donation to the $500,000 donation. As you walk around the site tonight, you're going to see green signs that list out many of the donors to this project, both those who gave money directly, but all those who gave in-kind services or did their work for a highly discounted price. And for that, we are very grateful. We also have investors in the project, the Grossman family, a very civic-minded family who purchased the historic tax credits here. And the project benefited from at least 20 generous foundations who gave more than $1.7 million to this project. I particularly want to call out our architects, Perkins and Will, and Brooke Trevis and Stephen Messenger. Stephen's right there. Who were one of those who did this amazing work, but did it for a lot less than they ordinarily would. And also I want to thank our landscape architect, Regenerative Design Group, and Keith Salzberg, who went way above and beyond the call of duty. If you walk over to that side of the site while you're roaming around tonight, you'll see another sign that is a graphic that presents a commemorative stone table that will be placed there, carved with all the names of donors, sometime later this summer. But would you please just pause for a minute and give an extra special round of applause to the people who gave money to make this project a reality and make it the quality it is. And I will briefly state that we should also be very grateful. There's 4 nonprofits working on this with 4 boards of directors who gave a lot of support to this effort. And I want to make sure that I thank all of them for being as supportive and generous as they have been. And on that note, I have the great pleasure of introducing one of my board members. Chase Garris is a relatively new member of HBI's board, but he also brings to our table not just an interest in historic preservation and the city and what preservation can do here, but he also has a background in urban farming, and he knows exactly what's going on here in the synthesis of these 2 priorities. So I would like to welcome Chase to the podium to introduce himself and tell you about HBI's work here.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to celebrate the renewal of this place. And as a former urban farmer myself, I couldn't be more excited about it. When I joined the board about a year ago, I was presented with this project, and this is one of the projects that really compelled me to get involved with the organization. And so I just wanted to take a minute to say a little bit about Historic Boston, Inc., the developers of this project. Historic Boston redevelops historic buildings for contemporary needs, and the Fowler Clark Epstein Farm is a great example of our work. The comeback of this property for use as an urban farm is a great example of how the preservation of historic buildings and the cultivation of our urban lands benefit our neighborhoods. This project has been a labor of love for HBI, but we couldn't have done it without all of you. We are grateful to Mayor Walsh for his support and contributions, and for his leadership and can-do spirit. We thank our donors for their great generosity and confidence in our work. We are grateful for the excellent work of our project team. I want to thank our wonderful partners, Urban Farming Institute, North Bennett Street School, and the Trust for Public Land, who worked selflessly to deliver a high-quality, creative project for this unique and well-loved place. And at last but not least, we are so grateful for the strength of this neighborhood. It was neighbors who came together to protect this property as a Boston landmark in 2005, and the same enthusiasm and neighborhood pride was part of the planning of this project. This is only the beginning of what will undoubtedly be a bright future for urban farming and for the rich history of this neighborhood. Congratulations to all for making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase, very much. We've acknowledged David Hurst, and one cannot acknowledge David Hurst enough. But we also had a contractor on our building, and I know that Michael Mon is probably leaning against the fence in the back and trying to get off site and out of here as quickly as possible. But Mr. Humility needs to be acknowledged because he delivered an amazing project here. While we had a fabulous team here, we also needed to manage that team. And we had, thankfully, at both Historic Boston and the Urban Farming Institute, and also at the Trust for Public Land in Kelly Bowling, we had a great group of people who are managing this project. Lisa Lewis at Historic Boston and Barbara Connect of the Urban Farming Institute were invaluable managers of the project. And we'd be remiss if we didn't thank them publicly, but I'm going to do even better and embarrass both of them by asking them to please come forward. Get those cameras ready.
I can't get that hole on my bike.
We'll deliver flowers for you, Barbara. But really, congratulations. A great job done here. You're not blushing. This is good.
Come out front for a picture.
They want you to. It's never as simple as. There you have it, the unsung heroes. But last but not least, and boy, not least, this is really the introduction of the future. It is my pleasure to hand off this podium to Pat Spence. Okay, while they're all coming out for photos, let me just tell you that 3 years ago, Pat called me up and said, you know, there's this old farm in my neighborhood that I'd really love to talk to you guys about. And it all started there. And it's amazing, even to me, to think about what has transpired from one phone call, one vision, one hope. And I just want to say that it's been a pleasure working with Pat, and we certainly look forward to watching you grow and all of these folks grow from the work that you do here at the Urban Farming Institute. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Walsh, and our elected officials and our friends and our neighbors. It was very important for you to see everybody, because these are the people that you will see all the time here and working at our other 7 farm sites. It's a community, it's a family. We live here, we work here. Nataka and Bobby actually live on the premises. Welcome to the home of the Urban Farming Institute. Our motto is very important to us. We don't just grow food, we grow people. My grandparents came from Jamaica to Boston. They grew food, vegetables, and fruit in their backyard in Roxbury on Howland Street. They pickled, canned, and dried what they grew. Raise your hands if you had parents and grandparents that grew food in the community. Woohoo! We at UFI are not inventing something new. We are following in the traditions of our elders and self-sufficiently recreating a local food system for our neighbors. Everyone we have met recently wants to know how to grow food, how to teach our children how to grow food, and learn ways to create a healthier diet and lifestyle. So So we thank our wonderful neighbors in Mattapan who have always supported us. We are eternally grateful. And I also want to say, everybody that's here today, those that might not be able to hear me, this is your home. We share it with everybody. It's not just ours. We thank the team at Historic Boston, the Trust for Public Land, and the North Bennett Street School. We thank RDG and, of course, David Hurst. We all shared a vision, and amazingly, we are now living it and eating from it. Did you see the collard greens and kale over there? Thanks to Baraka Community Wellness, our partner and soon-to-be tenant. We also salute all of our local Mattapan partners. All of our local businesses have partnered with us as well. And our friends, I have to say, at the Cooper Center in Roxbury, it was our former home. So we have to give deference and thank them for housing us for the last 3 or 4 years. Thanks to the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, the City of Boston. And I think I saw Sheila. Sheila Dillon's here. Sheila's in the house. Let's thank Department of Neighborhood Development. And all of our funders who made our mission and the farm a possibility. And deepest, deepest thanks for the people that truly make it possible, the soul of the organization, and it's the folks that you see behind me. They are the organization. They're here to work with their wonderful skills of farming to basically help us heal our community, bring our community together, learn how to take care of each other. And I don't know if you can feel it. Can you kind of feel the power here? Can you kind of feel it? It's a nice place to hang out and sit. We felt it the first time we got here as well. So again, we present to you a healing landscape as well. You can grow food in your backyard, in a community garden, in a windowsill, on your porch. And to do that, you can visit us for our workshops, our volunteer times at 7 sites in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan, our farmer training program, and ultimately, in 2019, you'll be able to lease land from our community land trust. So we're creating farm entrepreneurs as well, economic development in the house. We're also so excited to say that you'll be able to buy your food right here at our farm stand, right over there on Fridays, about 4 to 7. We're still working. Oh, okay, no, 3 to 6. 3 to 7. 3 to 7. So we're really excited about that. And all the folks that are around here are all master chefs. I swear they're all master chefs. So if you see a vegetable you don't know, they'll let you know how to cook it as well. We have a wonderful teaching kitchen behind us. We will be utilizing that and making sure that we're preparing food from all cultures as well. So that's really exciting for us. We will also have space that will be available for the community as well. This is your place. This is your home. And lastly, I'm going to echo what State Rep Holmes said as well. If you, yeah, okay, he says, where's my money? Okay, okay. That was quick. That's a quick way to say it. But if you look in the back, there's just kind of a vacant lot. That's the state-of-the-art art greenhouse. And what we want to do, there are at least 20 schools in this area. We want every single child to actually go to the greenhouse, be on the farm, so that they'll know that a carrot actually comes from the ground and not a bird's eye package in the freezer. So please, for those in the audience, help us make that state-of-the-art greenhouse a possibility. This is also where our farm manager and farm training manager will be doing all the research and development, coming up with new ways to grow things. These are master farmers behind me. They're amazing. Give them a round of applause. So in closing, I thank all of our funders again that have made all of this possible. Many of them are here today. And I'm just so joyful and happy that all of you are here with us as well. And so in closing, remember the motto that actually came from Bobby Walker right there. We don't just grow food, we grow people.
Cut. All right, we may cut now. All right, who has to cut? Kathy, I want you to cut. 1, 2, 3.